Okay, so I was on Zillow again last night.
Lynn,
I know, but hear me out. There's this house, 4 bedrooms, decent yard, nothing special, listed at $415,000. And I did the math. With today's rates, our monthly payment would be over $2,000, just principal and interest.
right. And here's the thing that actually keeps me up at night. That same house, same carpet, same school district, same everything. If we'd bought it in early 2021, that payment would have been $1,293 a month.
Wait, same house?
Same house, same 20% down, same $320,000 mortgage. The only thing that changed is when you sign the paperwork.
That's $730 more every single month.
Every month for 30 years. We're talking about $730 that doesn't buy you a bigger kitchen or a better neighborhood. It buys you nothing. It's just gone because you didn't buy 3 years earlier.
Okay, that's infuriating because it's not like we weren't trying to buy 3 years ago, you know? The market was it was insane.
And that's exactly the thing, because while you were being priced out, the number of homes actually selling hit the lowest point since 1995.
Wait, are you serious right now?
30-year low. Fewest transactions since 1995. And in the same breath, home prices are sitting near all-time highs. Both things at the same time.
But that doesn't make sense. Like, if nobody's buying, prices should be dropping. That's literally supply and demand. I learned that in, what, 8th grade?
So did I. And yet here we are. The market is frozen, prices are still absurd, and the average first-time buyer is now 40 years old.
40.
40. Used to be 28.
God.
And here's what I want to be clear about. This is not bad luck. This is not a random market glitch. This is the output of a very specific sequence of events that stacked on top of each other over 5 years. And once you understand the sequence, the situation stops feeling like chaos and starts feeling like an almost inevitable outcome.
Which is somehow both more comforting and more terrifying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so I'm Lynn.
And I'm Frank. Welcome to Talk and Wonder. We make easy-to-understand whiteboard
Hi,
animations
everyone,
covering
and welcome
family
to Talk
finance,
and Wonder.
investing, passive
We're here to
income,
help
and
you
debt
navigate
management.
the world of
And today,
finance and
we are
economics.
pulling back the curtain on the
欢
housing
迎来
market.
到 Talk and
Every
Wonder，
domino in
我
order
们将一起
with
探
the
索金
actual
融世
numbers.
界，
Because the
从
real
基础
estate
知识到
industry,
实
the
用技
mortgage
巧。
industry,
让我们开
most
始吧。
financial media, none of them have a structural incentive to explain this to you clearly.
And we do. So, by the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly how we got here. And this part matters. We're going to walk you through the one number every buyer needs to run before they sign anything, because nobody with a financial stake in your decision is going to volunteer that number.
The 28% rule. We'll get there, but first we need to go back to 2020, because that's where the first domino fell, and it fell with a lot of lighter fuel involved.
Lighter fuel?
You'll see.
So, the year is 2020. The world is, let's say, on fire. Metaphorically, mostly.
Mostly.
And the Federal Reserve, in what I can only describe as full emergency panic mode, slashes interest rates to basically zero, and then starts buying $120 billion in bonds and mortgage-backed securities every single month.
Every month?
Every month. They were injecting money into the financial system with the commitment of someone who has started a bonfire and is only slightly worried they may have used too much lighter fluid.
Okay, that's the lighter fluid.
That's the lighter fluid. And by January 2021, the 30-year fixed mortgage hit 2.65%.
Which sounds fake.
It sounds completely fake. It was the lowest rate Freddie Mac had recorded since 1971. And what that meant in practical terms, for real people sitting on the fence about buying, was that they could suddenly afford dramatically more house for the same monthly payment.
So they bought.
They bought, and then bought some more.
I mean, can you blame them? Like, we were looking at houses around that time, remember? And I kept thinking,
Okay, the prices feel high, but the monthly payment actually seems manageable?
Exactly, because the rate was doing all the heavy lifting. But that was only half the fuel. The other half was, well, COVID completely rewired what Americans needed from their homes.
Oh, this part, yeah.
Think about it. Suddenly, your apartment was your office, your gym, your kid's school, your restaurant, your entire social world. A 700 square foot place in the city that used to feel fine.
Suddenly felt like a sensory deprivation tank with a Wi-Fi password.
That's exactly what it felt like. And so millions of people started asking a completely reasonable question. If I can work from anywhere, why am I paying $2,800 a month to live somewhere I don't actually like?
And they left.
They left. Manhattan shed around 200,000 households. San Francisco, Chicago, LA, each lost tens of thousands, and all of them,
All of them descended on the same places.
Austin, Phoenix, Boise, Nashville, Tampa, places that already had tight inventory, that suddenly had a stampede of buyers showing up with pre-approvals, pandemic savings, and a desperate need for a home office that wasn't also a closet.
And that's when prices just lost their mind.
National home prices jumped 37% between March 2020 and March 2022.
Okay, wait, 37% in 2 years?
2 years, not a decade, 2 years. Austin climbed 61%, Phoenix 59%, Boise, Idaho, Boise up 53%.
Boise.
Boise! And at the peak, nearly 6,000 homes sold for $100,000 or more over asking price in a single month.
Frank, stop. 100,000 over asking?
For a completely normal house where someone was going to do completely normal things, like make dinner and argue about whose turn it is to take out the trash.
God, okay, so if you bought in 2020 or 2021?
You probably made one of the best financial decisions of your life, almost entirely by accident.
Not because you were smart.
Not because of skill. It was timing, pure timing. And look, I want to sit with that for a second because it matters. For everyone who wasn't in a position to buy during that window, what happened next made everything dramatically worse. Because in mid-2022,
The Fed panicked in the other direction.
inflation hit 9.1%, the highest in 40 years, and the Fed did what central banks do. They raised rates historically aggressively, 11 hikes in 16 months, from 0.25% all the way to 5.50%.
11 hikes?
The fastest tightening cycle in 4 decades, and mortgage rates followed in the worst possible way. January 2022, 3.22%. October 2022, 7.08%. October 2023,
How high?
7.79%, the highest since 2000. On the same houses people were paying $100,000 over asking for 18 months earlier.
Okay, I need a second because we're talking about that's the same house, right? The $320,000 mortgage?
Same house. At the pandemic low, 2.65%, your monthly payment was $1,293. At 7.79%, that same loan cost $2,302 a month.
That's over $1,000 more per month.
Over the life of the loan, that's $363,000 more for the exact same house, same carpet, same yard, the size of a generous parking space.
And that's before the house itself got more expensive.
Right, because remember, prices jumped 46% nationally between 2019 and now, so you're paying more for the loan and more for the house, both at the same time. And here's the number that really crystallizes it. To qualify for the median-priced home at today's rates, you need to earn around $106,000 a year.
Okay, and the median household income is...
$83,700.
So the average American family is $22,000 short of qualifying for the average house.
Before they even walk in the door. And every single quarter-point rate increase priced roughly 14 million additional buyers out of the market. Not fewer buyers, gone.
Gone.
Home sales fell from 6.12 million in 2021 to just 4 million in 2025, the slowest three-year stretch since the mid-90s. We are selling fewer homes today in a country with 100 million people more than 1995 than we sold in 1995.
That is genuinely one of the most depressing sentences I've heard in a while.
And here's the part that it really should break your brain. Prices didn't fall.
Wait, how? If demand collapsed,
Supply collapsed at exactly the same time, and that created something the modern home market had genuinely never quite seen before, a total freeze. And the reason why, that's where it gets really interesting. Because the thing that's quietly holding this entire market hostage right now,
the lock-in effect.
it's the lock-in effect. And once you understand what that actually means in dollar terms,
It's kind of horrifying.
it's kind of horrifying, yeah.
Okay, so walk me through it. The lock-in effect, because I feel like we talk about this, but I don't think most people actually understand what it means in real numbers.
Right, so, okay, let's start with this. About 51% of all outstanding U.S. mortgages right now carry a rate below 4%.
Half.
Roughly half. And around 20% carry a rate below 3%. So if you bought in 2020 or 2021 and locked in, say, 2.75%, you are sitting on a financial instrument that no longer exists.
Like, the bank won't just give you that again.
The bank will not recreate it. The market cannot offer it. It is gone, like a limited edition sneaker that's sold out and never restocked.
Okay, that's a very frank analogy.
It's accurate, though, and here's what that means practically. If you sell your house and buy another one today, you're not just moving, you are voluntarily surrendering the cheapest money you will almost certainly ever access in your lifetime and replacing it with money that costs more than twice as much.
So the math on that is...
On a $400,000 mortgage, that swap costs $730 more per month, every month, forever.
Okay, I've heard that number before, but when you put it that way, forever, it hits different.
That's $87,600 over a decade, just in interest, just for having the audacity to want to live somewhere different.
God!
And Federal Reserve researchers actually put a number on this. They calculated the average lock-in cost, like the pure financial penalty of trading your old mortgage for a new one, at over $65,000.
$65,000 to move.
$65,000 to leave. So what does the rational homeowner do?
They stay.
They stay in the house that's maybe too small now, in the nursery that became a Zoom background, in the neighborhood where they stopped knowing their neighbors 3 years ago, not because they want to stay.
Because a spreadsheet is physically keeping them there.
Exactly. And the Atlanta Fed actually studied this. They found the lock-in effect reduces the probability that any homeowner lists their home by 21 to 23%.
So literally 1 in 5 homeowners who might otherwise sell just doesn't.
Doesn't. And FHFA researchers estimated it has suppressed, are you ready? 17 million transactions that would otherwise have happened.
Wait, are you serious right now? 17 million?
17 million homes that didn't trade hands because of this one effect. Active inventory is still 17% below 2019 levels. Months of supply is hovering between 3.3 and 3.8 right now.
And you need 6 for a balanced market.
You need 6. We have maybe half that. And so the market isn't broken in the sense that it's collapsing. It's broken in the sense that it has completely stopped moving, like a door that won't open or close, just stuck, vibrating slightly, going nowhere.
That is the most accurate description of how house hunting has felt for the past 2 years.
I know.
Okay, but can I bring up something? Because I think there's a person in all of this who gets completely lost in these macro numbers, and I want to talk about her.
Maya.
You know who I mean.
Yeah, go ahead.
So imagine, and I want people to really picture this, someone who did everything right. Let's call her Maya. She's 31, works in healthcare administration in a normal mid-sized city, makes $74,000 a year, which is above the national median, no credit card debt, 760 credit score, and she has $31,000 saved.
Which took 3 years.
3 years of genuine sacrifice. Skipped vacations, no new car, one roommate longer than she wanted. By every reasonable standard, Maya is exactly the person home ownership was designed for.
So what does the market offer her?
The median home in her city is $385,000. She puts 10% down. The loan is $346,500. At 6.5%, her monthly principal and interest is $2,190. Add property taxes, around $350, insurance, $150, maintenance reserve, $320.
Total monthly cost?
$3,100, and Maya takes home about $4,650 a month, so housing eats 65% of her take-home pay. She'd have $1,640 left for food, transportation, health insurance, student loans, and, the occasional reminder that she's a human being with a social life.
She cannot afford that house, not because she's irresponsible, because the income required to comfortably buy the median home in her market is $110,000, and she makes $74,000.
The gap isn't a personal failing, it's structural, it's baked into the math. And there are millions of Mayas, financially solid people being told by every cultural signal around them that they should own a home by now,
while being quietly excluded by numbers that never appear in those signals.
You know what it actually feels like? It feels like opening Zillow for the 16th time this week and saving a house you know you can't afford, just to have somewhere to put the feeling.
Yeah.
It feels like watching your rent go up $150 in March and realizing your down payment timeline just got 3 months longer for a deposit you've been building for 3 years. It feels like going to your best friend's housewarming, genuinely happy for them, while involuntarily calculating what their monthly payment must be.
It feels like being responsible by virtually every measure and still being systematically kept out of the thing your parents treated as a basic expectation of adulthood.
And the data backs that up. First-time buyers now make up just 21% of all purchases, a record low in 44 years of tracking.
The historical norm is 40%.
The median age of a first-time buyer is now 40. In the early 90s, it was 28.
And buying at 40 instead of 30, that decade of missed appreciation costs roughly $150,000 in lost lifetime equity.
And then you look at who is buying. Baby boomers now make up 42% of all buyers. Half of older boomers are buying entirely in cash.
Because they sold a house they bought for $200,000 in 1998.
That's now worth $700,000.
Pocketed the equity, walked in with no mortgage dependency, while the 32-year-old is trying to win a bidding war with a pre-approval letter and $31,000 saved.
It's the same market, completely different game depending on which side of that equity wall you're standing on.
And the downstream effects of this? 84% of Gen Z aspiring homeowners are delaying at least one major life milestone because of housing costs.
29% are postponing having children. 18% are delaying marriage.
1 in 6 aspiring buyers have given up on homeownership entirely, not paused, given up.
And 22% of millennials given up. Frank, the median first-time buyer being 40 years old is not a quirky data point.
It's the statistical fingerprint of a generation squeezed so hard and so long that the defining marker of middle-class stability has been pushed from early adulthood into middle age.
And every institution with a financial stake in your decision has a structural incentive to tell you now is always a great time to buy.
None of them make money when you say no.
Okay, so how did we get a market this broken? Because the rate spike explains part of it, but the supply problem, that one's been building a lot longer than 2022. That one goes back
15 years at least.
Yeah, and it gets worse before it gets better.
Okay, so here's the thing that most housing market coverage completely skips over. Everyone wants to talk about the rate spike, the pandemic, the Fed, and those things matter. But the supply shortage, the reason prices haven't collapsed even with demand this week, that didn't start in 2020. It was assembled piece by piece over 15 years of underbuilding.
Starting after 2008.
starting after 2008. So after the financial crisis, builders pulled back hard, and they stayed pulled back for the entire 2010s. Housing starts averaged about 990,000 per year through that decade.
And the historical baseline is
1.5 million per year.
so we were building, what, 500,000 fewer homes every year for a decade?
Every single year, and it compounds. You don't just fall behind by 1 year's worth, you fall behind by 10 years' worth. The math on that shortfall is somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5 million housing units. Gone, never built.
That's not a gap, that's a canyon.
It's a canyon, and here's what made it worse. What actually did get built skewed heavily toward the upper end of the market, because that's where the margins are. Builders aren't charities, they build what pencils out.
Which means the starter home basically disappeared.
The starter home, under 1,400 square feet, the traditional entry point for first-time buyers. It went from over 400,000 units a year in the 1970s
To
65,000 in 2020.
Frank,
An 80% decline.
80%.
The house that was supposed to be the beginning of the wealth-building ladder for working Americans essentially discontinued as a product. Like, imagine if car manufacturers just quietly stopped making economy cars for 20 years and then acted surprised that nobody could afford a vehicle.
That's exactly what happened.
And then the pandemic surge hit on top of that, and then the rate spike, and now we have tariffs.
Oh, I was waiting for you to get to the tariffs.
Steel up 50%, aluminum up 50%, Canadian lumber up 45%. Combined, those add an estimated $10,000 to $17,500 to every single new home being built right now.
Per home.
Per home. And the supply chain looked at the situation and essentially said, cool, not our department, good luck.
Which is such a supply chain response.
Builders are fighting back. They're offering incentives, rate buydowns to 4.5% or lower, and we'll talk about that in a minute because it actually matters for buyers right now. But the hard truth is this: the supply problem took a decade to create. It will take at least a decade to meaningfully solve.
There's no executive order that builds 4 million homes.
There is no policy lever anyone can pull that fixes a structural imbalance this large in 2 years or even 5. So when someone tells you the housing market is about to open up, ask them where exactly those homes are coming from.
Okay, can we address the thing everyone always brings up at this point? Because I feel like anytime we talk about housing, someone in the comments says, "Is this 2008? Are we heading for a crash?"
No.
Just no?
Not even close, and the reasons it's different actually matter enormously. So in 2006 and 2007, subprime mortgages made up 18 to 21% of all originations, liar loans, interest-only products, negative amortization mortgages. These were mainstream products.
The banking system was basically betting on home prices rising forever.
Using money borrowed against itself with zero margin for error. It was a house of cards built on the assumption that nothing would ever go wrong.
And then everything went wrong.
Everything went wrong. Today, subprime lending is roughly 3 to 4% of originations. The median credit score at origination is 758.
Which is 50 points higher than 2006.
And here's the most important number. In 2009, 26% of all mortgaged properties were underwater. That's the condition that triggers mass defaults, forced sales, a genuine price spiral downward.
Today, that number is
2.2%.
That's a completely different universe.
Homeowners are sitting on $35.8 trillion in collective equity. Foreclosures in 2024 totaled 174,100.
And in 2008, they hit
2.3 million.
Okay, so this is not 2008.
This is not 2008. The 2008 crisis happened because banks lent money to people who couldn't repay it based on home values they largely invented. Today, the problem is almost inverse. The lending is sound, the borrowers are qualified, the equity is real.
And you still can't afford anything.
Progress, technically.
That might be the most depressing technically I've ever heard.
This is not a fragile market. It's a frozen, structurally constrained, deeply expensive market. And that distinction matters
Because a crash at least creates buying opportunities.
exactly, a crash is painful, but it resets. A frozen market that slowly grinds sideways mostly just continues to exist, absorbing more of people's income, waiting for time to do what policy can't.
So, what does time actually look like here? Because I think that's what everyone really wants to know. Like, is there a light at the end of this tunnel, or is this just the tunnel now?
Okay, so the thing everyone's waiting for is a significant drop in mortgage rates, and it would genuinely help. Most forecasts have rates ending this year somewhere between 5.7 and 6.1%, better than where we've been.
But there's a catch.
There's always a catch. A bank rate survey found that 37% of homeowners need rates below 5% before they'd even consider selling.
And we're not going to 5% this year.
Probably not. So the lock-in effect doesn't just dissolve. It fades naturally over time. People have kids, take new jobs, get divorced, retire. Life forces the move, even when the math says don't. The share of mortgages below 4% has already dropped from its peak of 65%, down to about 48% today. That slow release is the most realistic path to a more functional market.
But slow is the operative word.
This is a 5 to 10 year process, at minimum.
Okay, but here's the thing I keep coming back to, and this is the part that genuinely nobody is talking about. What if rates do drop, like meaningfully drop, and it actually makes affordability worse before it makes it better?
Yes, this. Okay, so think about it. Millions of buyers are sitting on the sidelines right now. If rates drop to 5% quickly,
That wave of pent-up demand floods back overnight.
but supply doesn't recover overnight. The 3.5 to 4.5 million unit deficit took a decade to create. So what happens when massive demand hits insufficient supply?
Prices spike.
The same dynamic that drove the 2020 to 2022 surge could partially repeat at a higher base level. The cure, if it arrives too fast,
Could temporarily make the disease worse before it makes it better.
so we could go through another round of that? At a higher starting price, yeah.
Okay, I need a minute with that because that's genuinely bleak.
The most honest forecast is the boring one, a slow, multi-year correction where prices move roughly sideways while incomes gradually rise. No crash, no dramatic relief, just time and grinding adjustment.
With a lot of difficult personal decisions in the middle.
A lot of difficult personal decisions. And that's actually what I want to get into next, because if you're sitting in this market right now, whether you're trying to buy or you own and you're wondering if you should move, or you've basically given up and you're just renting and investing, there are actual frameworks for making this decision. Real numbers, not vibes.
Not, it's always a great time to buy.
Not that.
Because, okay, I just want to say this before we get into the frameworks. If you're in your late 20s or 30s right now navigating this market,
You are dealing with the most dysfunctional housing market any generation has faced since World War II.
not the most dramatic. 2008 was more dramatic.
But more insidious, because this one doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels like a permanent new normal. And every institution with a financial stake in your decision,
Has a structural incentive to tell you now is always a great time to buy.
it isn't always.
Your frustration is legitimate. The math is just broken. And understanding exactly why it's broken,
That's the first step toward making a decision that actually works for you, instead of just participating in collective financial insanity because everyone around you insists buying is always the right move.
so let's talk about what actually works.
Okay, so let's actually run the numbers, because I think the most dangerous thing in this market, more dangerous than high rates, more dangerous than low inventory, is making a decision based on narrative instead of math.
It's always a great time to buy.
Right, that's a narrative. Here's the math. The single most important number every buyer needs to know before they sign anything is this. Your total monthly housing costs should not exceed 28 to 30% of your gross income.
Not take home, Gross.
Gross, before taxes. And total housing costs means principal, interest, property taxes, insurance, and a maintenance reserve, not just the mortgage payment your lender quotes you.
Because lenders love to quote you just the principal and interest.
They do. It's a much prettier number. So run the full number. If your gross monthly income is, say, $7,000, that's $84,000 a year.
Which is right around the median household income.
Right around it. 28% of $7,000 is $1,960 a month. That is your ceiling. Everything, taxes, insurance, maintenance, mortgage, has to fit under $1,960.
And at today's rates, what does $1,960 a month actually buy you?
At 6.5% after a 20% down payment, that gets you to roughly a $245,000 to $255,000 home.
And the median home price is $418,000.
The median home price is $418,000.
So for a median income household, the math clears on a home that costs about $160,000 less than the median.
Before you even factor in the down payment you need to save, which on a $418,000 home at 20% is $83,600.
Okay, so the gap isn't just the monthly payment. It's also the getting to the starting line in the first place.
Getting to the starting line, yeah. And look, I want to be really clear about something here. If the math doesn't work at that 28 to 30% threshold,
It doesn't work.
it doesn't work. Stretching to 45% of your gross income because your real estate agent says it's a great time to buy,
Doesn't make it a great time to buy.
it makes you a future statistic, because what happens at 45% of income is you have no margin. One job loss, one medical bill, one car that needs a transmission,
And you're in trouble.
and you're in trouble fast. The house didn't become more affordable just because someone told you it was fine to stretch.
Okay, so what about the second rule? You mentioned a 7-year threshold.
Right, so this is the other number. If you buy and you don't stay for at least 7 years, the math almost never works in your favor, because the transaction costs of buying and selling a home
Which most people completely underestimate.
completely underestimate. We're talking about closing costs, agent commissions, moving costs, the repairs you do to get the place ready to sell. Combined, that can easily run 8 to 10% of the home's value.
So on a $400,000 home, you did $32,000 to $40,000 just to break even on the transaction itself, before you've made $1 of profit.
And in a market where prices are moving sideways, you need time for appreciation to cover that gap.
7 years minimum.
7 years gives you a reasonable shot. Less than that, and you're essentially paying to have the privilege of owning,
Which is not wealth building.
which is not wealth building. And this connects to something that almost nobody with a financial incentive will tell you.
In a high-rate, high-price environment, renting and investing the difference is a completely legitimate strategy.
Say that louder. Renting and investing the difference, putting what you would have spent on a down payment and the monthly gap into an index fund, can absolutely compete with, or in some scenarios, outperform buying an overpriced house.
Because nobody earns a commission when you put money in an index fund.
Nobody earns a commission. There's no agent, no mortgage broker, no title company, just your money growing. And that's why you almost never hear this from anyone with a stake in the transaction.
I mean, we almost never hear it from anyone full stop, because culturally, renting is still treated like, I don't know, like you're failing at adulthood.
And that framing is worth a lot of money to a lot of industries.
Okay, but for people who are buying or who have decided they want to buy, what should they actually be looking at right now?
New construction. Seriously, look hard at new construction.
Because of the rate buydowns?
Because of the rate buydowns. Builders right now are offering to buy down your mortgage rate to 4.5%, sometimes lower. That is a real, meaningful reduction in your monthly payment. And here's something that almost never happens,
The median new home price is basically at parity with existing homes right now.
which is historically unusual. Normally, new construction carries a premium. Right now, though, builders are so motivated to move inventory that the gap has essentially closed.
So you get a lower rate and a comparable price.
Potentially, but, and this matters, you have to make sure the builder isn't disguising an inflated base price with the rate buy-down incentive. Like sometimes they'll mark up the home $20,000 and then offer you a $15,000 rate buy-down and call it a deal.
So you need to run
every number.
Run every number. Get an independent appraisal if you can. Compare the base price to comparable existing homes in the same area. Don't let the headline incentive distract you from the actual math.
Okay, so let me can I just put this all together? Because I think people need to hear it as one picture.
Go ahead.
The housing market we're all dealing with right now is the product of 30 months of the cheapest money in American history, followed by the fastest rate hike cycle in 40 years, layered on top of a decade of underbuilding that left the country somewhere between 3.5 to 4.5 million homes short.
That's the stack.
The people who need prices to fall are priced out of buying even if they do fall. The people who need to sell are financially trapped by the very low rates that made housing affordable 5 years ago.
Everyone is stuck at opposite ends of the same problem for completely opposite reasons.
And there is no product, no policy, no executive order, or no rate cut that fixes a structural imbalance this large in a single year.
No, there isn't.
Pause. So, if you're sitting with this right now and you're frustrated, your frustration is legitimate. The income required to buy the median home is $106,000. The median household income is $83,700. There's a $22,000 gap baked into the system before you even show up.
You are not failing at adulthood. The math is just broken.
The math is just broken.
And the decision to buy has to be based on your real numbers, not the market's narrative, not your agent's optimism, not the cultural pressure that says owning is always better than renting. Your numbers.
The 28 to 30% rule, the 7-year test, and honestly, the honest conversation you need to have with yourself about whether this is the right move for your family right now, not eventually. Now.
Because the error, the one that costs people the most, is buying any house at any price and assuming appreciation will bail you out.
That era is over.
Running the real numbers before you sign is not pessimism.
It's the only sane way to navigate a market this expensive and this broken.
You're not crazy for looking at listings and thinking none of this adds up.
It genuinely doesn't.
And understanding exactly why it doesn't, that's the first step towards making a decision that actually works for you, instead of just participating in collective financial insanity because everyone around you insists that buying is always the right move.
Okay, if this episode helped, and I really hope it did, hit that like button. It genuinely makes a difference for us.
And subscribe to Talk and Wonder if you want to keep running the real math with us every week. We cover family finance, investing, debt management, all of it. No fluff, no narratives, just the actual numbers.
And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but what do I do about my specific situation? Drop it in the comments. We read them, all of them.
We do. And honestly, if the fact that you're asking these questions at all, that you're running the numbers instead of just going along with what everyone tells you,
that's already ahead of where most people are.
that's already ahead. We'll see you in the next one.